When you live 10 miles from your nearest neighbor, you don't get visitors, you get threats. I was 17 and alone for the first time in our new house in rural Ohio. My parents had gone into the city for the weekend, leaving me with a stocked freezer and the responsibility of looking after the farm. The house sat about a half-mile back from the main road, at the end of a long gravel driveway surrounded by endless cornfields. It was impossible for anyone to get to our door by accident. It was just after dusk on a cold October night, and I was in the kitchen making food when I heard the sound of crunching gravel. My heart stopped. I wasn't expecting anyone. I went to the living room window and peered into the darkness. Nothing. I was about to head back to the kitchen when I heard a knock on the door. A normal, almost polite tap. My first instinct was to open it, but something stopped me. I ran to my dad's office, which has a window overlooking the driveway. What I saw made my blood run cold. There was an old, rusted white van parked horizontally behind my pickup truck, completely blocking my only exit. One man was on the porch, the one knocking. Another was in the passenger seat, and I could see the van rocking slightly, as if there were more people moving around inside. The knocking at the door stopped. The silence that followed was worse. I ran to my parents' bedroom at the end of the hall, locked the door, and hid in the closet, dialing 911 with trembling hands. Then I heard the sound I was dreading. Footsteps, now on the gravel outside the bedroom window. They were circling the house, testing the windows. I was whispering my location to the 911 operator when I heard a voice right below the window where I was hiding. "He's in here. I saw the kitchen light." Another, gruffer voice replied. "The van's blocking him in. He's not going anywhere. Go find the breaker box." They were going to cut the power. I was trapped in a dark house with a group of men who knew I was there and were actively trying to get in. The fear was so thick I couldn't even breathe. I stayed in the closet, dead silent, listening to them prying at the back door. Then, in the distance, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world, a siren. The voices outside stopped. I heard a muffled shout of cops, followed by the sound of running feet, van doors slamming, and tires spitting gravel. By the time the police arrived, they were gone. The cops found a crowbar near the back door and an empty gas can near the van. They never caught them. I still wonder, what was the gas can for? And why did they want to cut the power before they came inside?
Anyone can rattle a doorknob. The real terror is when they keep trying for 2 straight hours, knowing you're on the other side. It was a frigid Minnesota night in the dead of winter. I was 15 and at my best friend Ben's house for a sleepover in his basement. It was just the two of us, surrounded by video games and junk food. Ben's basement was our refuge, but it had a large sliding glass door that opened up to the dark, snow-covered backyard. Ben's older brother had a bad habit of popping up out of nowhere to scare us, so around midnight, we decided to lock the glass door with the metal security bar. We were in the middle of a game when we heard it, a low, metallic sound. The handle of the glass door was being jiggled. "Real funny, Chris!" Ben yelled, assuming it was his brother. The sound stopped. 10 minutes later, it started again, but this time it was different. It wasn't a quick, annoying rattle. It was a slow, methodical, heavy pull, as if someone was testing their full weight against the door. We yelled out again for him to stop, but the sound didn't stop. It continued for an hour. Jiggle, pause. Jiggle, pause. This wasn't Ben's brother. Fear washed over us. We shut off the TV and huddled on the couch, just watching the handle move in the dark. Then, after nearly 2 hours, the jiggling stopped. It was replaced by a new sound, a high-pitched metallic scratching right at the lock mechanism. Someone was on the other side of that thin glass, in the snow, methodically trying to pick the lock with a tool. He knew we were in there. We had been yelling, and he didn't care. We sat there paralyzed for another hour, listening to that horrible sound of metal scraping metal, until abruptly it stopped. We didn't hear footsteps walking away, just silence. We didn't sleep. When the sun came up, we told Ben's dad. The lock was completely destroyed, the metal around it scratched and bent. Out in the fresh snow, there was a single set of heavy boot prints that walked right up to the door and then just vanished at the street. The police said it was probably a failed burglary attempt. But burglars don't try to pick a lock for 2 hours while knowing there are awake witnesses on the other side. Someone wanted in, and they wanted us to know they were trying. I was followed home by a man my parents always told me to be kind to. It turns out, kindness isn't a shield. I was 18, living with my parents in an old apartment building in Boston, Massachusetts. I was home alone for the weekend, studying for midterms. On our floor lived a man everyone just called Neighbor. He was a known figure, suffering from severe mental health issues that caused him to walk the halls, murmuring to himself. My parents had always instructed me to be kind, to smile and say hello, and he would always smile back. That Saturday afternoon, I went out to grab a coffee. As I was walking back, I saw Neighbor standing near the building's entrance, watching me with an odd, fixed smile. I gave him a polite nod and entered the building. I heard the main door close behind me. As I walked up the first flight of stairs to my apartment on the second floor, I heard the front door open and close again, very quickly. I heard hurried footsteps in the lobby. I stopped mid-staircase and looked down. It was him, Neighbor. He was standing at the base of the stairs, but his smile was gone. His face was blank, his eyes locked onto me. "Hey man, you okay?" I said, my voice nervous. He didn't answer. He just started running up the stairs at me, taking the steps 2 at a time. I turned and tried to run, but in my panic, I tripped and fell. Before I could get up, he grabbed me by the ankle and started pulling me down, step by step. I screamed and kicked with my free leg, striking his chest and arm, but his grip was like steel. He wasn't saying anything, just pulling, his eyes completely empty. I was being dragged, my head hitting the steps, when a door on the first floor flew open. Our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Wallace, yelled out, "What in God's name is going on out here?" The instant she yelled, the grip on my ankle was gone. Neighbor stood up, gave me one last look, and then sprinted back down the stairs and out of the building. I was left trembling and bleeding from my elbow. I never told my parents, afraid of what my dad might do to him. I still see him in the neighborhood sometimes, but now, when he sees me, he crosses the street, avoiding my gaze. I didn't see a sick man that day. I saw a predator, and I still don't know what would have happened if Mrs. Wallace hadn't opened her door.